Hello everyone and welcome to the Bible talk here at St Paul's Cathedral, home church for Anglicans in the Diocese of Melbourne. Today, as always, I'm joined by our Chief Props Officer, Andreas, our Dean. Hello Andreas.
Hello Heather.
And today again, Archie is resting at home. Archie the dog is our chief prop, but he's having a snooze instead of being here this morning.
That's a very wise thing to be doing, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. Sleeping is nice. Our cathedral is situated on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and we acknowledge and pay our respects to their elders, past and present. Well, here we are again in lockdown in Melbourne, lockdown number 6.
We hope that you're doing really well, whether you're doing work, uni, or school from home.
Yes, and we thought we'd really quite like to have a cup of tea today. And so if you've not had a cuppa with someone today, you might like to have one with us too. So you could make a hot beverage right now, because then we could say we'd had a cup of tea together.
So lovely.
Just feel free to press the pause button, and we'll just wait here for a few moments and till you get back. Well, you might not be aware of this, but in the Bible there are lots of lockdowns. And today we're going to talk about 3 of them, because that might help us feel a little bit encouraged to find out how other people have dealt with lockdown. The first one we're going to look at is at the beginning of the Bible. And Andreas has some very useful props here to help us. What have you got there, Andreas?
Well, I've gone to the cathedral shop. There's a lovely shop we've got at the cathedral, and there's a very beautiful Noah's Ark for
that's beautiful.
purchase here, and you can take off the lid at the top. That's the roof, by the way. And you've got Mr. and Mrs. Noah. Here they are.
Oh, fabulous.
And then you've
Someone
got
just
lots
did a
of
steering.
animals, all 2 by 2, which you can pop into the ark. Here's some lovely tigers for all you Richmond supporters out there. And there's some giraffes. They all come in 2s. And you pop them in here, all of the animals. There's a lovely lion. Look at that one.
That's terrific. There seems to be a bit of a structural issue at the front here where there's gaping holes.
Oh, no, it floats. And there's also a dove. And, of course, for Mr. and Mrs. Noah, there's a ladder so that they can get into the ark. And then you can shut the roof again, and off it floats.
Well, that's really handy, because otherwise the rain would get in the top, wouldn't it?
That's right. So here we've also got, for our demonstrational purposes, a bucket of water to simulate the rain. Of course, in Noah's case, it wasn't really water in a bucket, but in fact lots of rain.
It was, actually. That's right. Well, the story of Noah is one of great hope. You know, at that time, no one was listening to God. In Genesis 6, we read that the earth was corrupt and filled with violence. God was sick of the sin, so he sent a great flood to wipe out all people. Noah, however, was a man who stood out as completely different from everyone else. So God had him build an ark. Here's one we prepared earlier. That is a boat. So Noah and his family, along with animals they saved onto the boat, would survive. Now, I wonder if you know how long Noah was in lockdown. And you'll need to think carefully about the answer. What would you say, Andreas?
Well, some people might say 40 days and 40 nights, because that's what Genesis 7 tells us about the
that's
rainstorm that caused the flood that floated the ark. However, and this is where it might sound like something that we are familiar with, because when the rain stopped and everybody could come out on deck, they still had to wait some more.
Yes, because there was the announcement from the Premier and the Chief Health Officer saying that lockdown was being extended, as there would in fact now be a time of having to wait for the floodwaters to subside.
I'm not sure that it was the state government or the Chief Health Officer who said that.
Oh, okay.
I think it was just the reality of the situation, wasn't it? It took another 150 days for the floods to subside.
Yes, let's just make another water noise. There's the floods still
Very
subsiding.
beautifully done.
Thank you. Okay, so the important thing, though, for us to notice about this story of lockdown and release is the result. Thankfulness. Noah made a sacrifice to God to thank him for preserving his life, and God made a lasting promise that he would never again do this. And as a sign of his promise, he placed a bow of colours in the sky.
That's the rainbow.
Yeah, so for Noah, lockdown led to thankfulness.
Thanks for God.
Yeah, thanks to God. The next example of lockdown in the Bible is another one that's a bit watery. Oh, here.
That's great,
Here's
isn't
a
it?
prop to make the noise.
Oh, good.
There we are. Just dry my hand again.
That's right. This isn't a story where the people were on the top of the water, though. It's where the people were at the bottom of the water.
That's right, underneath it, because it's the story of Jonah. Jonah was told by God to go to Nineveh and warn the people there to turn from evil to God.
But Jonah didn't want to, so he tried to run away from God, and he jumped on a boat to Tarshish, which is in Spain. But as he was setting off over the waters, God sent a huge storm, which resulted in Jonah telling the sailors to throw him over the side of the boat because he knew the storm was the result of God being angry at him.
Yeah, which is what happened. And the storm stopped. And to rescue Jonah, God sent a very large fish
Here's a very large fish we've prepared earlier.
to swallow him.
There's a very large fish we've prepared earlier to show the swallowed Jonah.
Yes, bigger fish, with bigger tummy anyway. And the fish swam, I was going to say drove, I don't think he had a car. The fish swam towards the dry land and he vomited Jonah out to safety.
And here he is, again, nice and small.
Excellent. They
Or
could
very
go in the
large.
water if you want. They like swimming in the water. Jonah was in lockdown for 3 days, just a short one, like North Queensland.
Yes, and we read in Jonah 2 that his response in lockdown, when he was in the tummy of the fish, was to say words of praise to God for saving him.
That's right. Unfortunately, that did not mean that he was happy to go and tell the people in Nineveh about God's call on them and to repent, but that's a story for another day. Well, now, a third example of a story of lockdown in the Bible.
There are lots of lockdowns in the Bible, aren't there, Heather?
Yes, and I've only just picked a few of them for today. This story of lockdown is recorded further towards the end of the Bible in the New Testament. You can read about it near the end of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. That might give a bit of a hint as to what it is. It's the lockdown that Jesus was in after he had been crucified on the cross. Andreas is drawing some helpful diagrams before. Let's just put the water down so that we can see them. There we go. Excellent. Oh, you've already drawn it. That was, okay, good. That lockdown is the lockdown through which Jesus broke the power of death over us. Death is a result of the sin we commit, which acts as a barrier to our relationship with God. Actually, did you notice that the other Bible lockdowns were due to sin too?
Yeah, that's right. But our lockdowns, of course, aren't due to sin.
No. COVID-19. Yes, well, this lockdown was, in fact, the best one in the Bible.
It was the Bible lockdown to end all other lockdowns.
That's right. Jesus was someone who had never committed sin, so when Jesus died, in effect, his death broke the power of death. And just as Jesus died and was released from lockdown on the third day, that is, raised to life by God, God promises that if we believe in Jesus and accept his death in our place and trust in his death to take away the broken relationship we have with God, we receive great benefits.
That's right. This was the best lockdown ever, because that lockdown means that we can also have life with God beginning right now and going on forever. I reckon it's time for another cup of tea, isn't it?
Oh, yes, excellent. Here's one we prepared earlier. Hope we see you soon and we can actually have a cup of tea together. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.